Peace and supreme wellness, everyone. It's Takesha of Afro Canna Holistic and Black Women Who Blaze Network. And today I am joined by a special guest, another sister who is blazing the cannabis industry and she consumes it. So she's going to share her story and what she does in the industry and give us some insight into what her cannabis journey and what cannabis is about in her neck of the woods. Okay. And so I'd like to introduce Taye Maat. We met each other in another networking event, online networking event, Talkativity, and we connected, thank goodness. And now she is honoring me with her presence on the platform and sharing her wisdom. So without further ado, Taye Maat, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Takesha. Hey, everybody with Black Women Who Blaze. Yes, I am. My desire is to blaze with everybody. So if you have not rolled roll it up now. Get your dab rigs, however you do it, cook your brownies. I don't know how you're doing it. Drink your tea.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Taye Maat. I am a cannabis-infused mindfulness coach. And what that means for me is combining cannabis and combining spirituality in a sense. I don't always have to say spirituality. I say mindfulness because it's really about moment to moment, mind, body, perception and perspective, and how you manifest in that space. So it expands outside of what a lot of people think yoga is. I am a registered yoga teacher. I am a certified cannabis medical consultant. And so like with those two things combined, I don't want to perpetuate the idea of what yoga has been for people. I want to expand that. And I'm taking the teachings that I learned in my yoga background and applying that. Yoga is not the poses, the postures, and only the principles that you guys think it is. It is the connection with yourself, simply put. So my mission and my idea is to focus first on women that need this reminder. We have been distracted in so many different ways with life, distracted by choice and distracted by non-choice. And we know that as Black women, we don't always have a choice in what our distractions are.
Right.
So just being there to support other women that are cannabis users, cannabis interested users, and letting them know that there is an expansion in your sessions, there's an expansion in your consumptions. And I have the tools that I believe resonate, that have definitely worked and resonate with me. And I have those tools that hopefully can resonate with you guys as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Great introduction. And so, right, let's dive right on in so we can get into how you got to this journey, how you came to this destination at this point. So which state do you reside in?
I reside in the district.
Oh, okay.
We're not became a state yet. I am in DC.
Okay.
And I love my quadrant in DC. I'm in actually Southwest DC.
Okay.
And I have, I'm kind of like a transplant, because true Washingtonians would be like, she don't even sound like she from DC. Look, we're not gonna worry about that. Okay. Ever since I moved back to this area, I moved back to the East Coast from Louisiana and Texas back in 2017. I started working in DC at that time. So that's why I feel like I'm a Washingtonian. And then I finally moved into this area 3 years ago.
Okay, okay. And so is cannabis legal in for adult use there?
Adult use, medicinal and recreational use is legal. The Washingtonians and just the people that have been advocating for that space, created and helped initialize I-71, which also says that not only is medicinal and recreational use legal, but that we can grow 6 plants in our homes, that we can also gift up to an ounce of cannabis to whomever that's 21 and up. So DC has pioneered that space. Um, that is something that is starting to become like is raising my awareness of the changes, because DC recently has seen where there's some measures being taken against the I-71 initiative that allows gifting of cannabis. And
Wow.
so there are people out there that are fighting for that now. Um, More on that if you guys check out just I-71 initiative in DC. But yes, adult use is legal here. And I I have been in the midst, I know we're gonna talk about my story soon, but I've been in the midst of um, attempting to grow one of my own 6 plants, but we we'll talk about that. Well,
Right. So, before legalization, were you a medicinal patient, or did you just wait until things were legalized?
well, before it, I wasn't even in the mindset of it. I'm just like most people. What I was doing privately is what I was doing privately, whether it was or wasn't
Right,
established in that type of way.
right.
Um, but then later, just as a form of responsibility for me and a responsibility for order and harmony amongst what is currently deemed
Yes.
uh, law. That's why I became a medical cannabis patient.
Right. Okay. And so before legalization, you became a medicinal patient, but before, like most of us, you were consuming therapeutically. Okay.
Absolutely.
Beforehand. And so that's good to know, because I am still currently a medicinal patient, even though Connecticut has become recreational use or adult use
Okay.
last year. And I advocate for the medicinal licensing, just because of the taxes and things like that that's going to come with retail sales. And so, we, as our community, uh, it's an out of pocket expense. So medicinal patients here are, you can grow, like you said, and it's going to be a learning curve, but at the end of the day, and it's some upfront costs in the beginning,
Yeah.
but in the long run, it's to come out of just consumer to producer, and even if you're just producing for your own self. So yeah, I commend you for becoming a medicinal patient, and now, dabbling and growing,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
It's a growth. It like pun intended. It's a growth and growing process.
Yes, I agree. All right, so how long have you been consuming cannabis?
All right. Well, I'm tell the truth with y'all. I started at 19.
Mhm.
Um, and that introduction was kind of no different from the movies that are out there. I believe people thought I was uptight at that time and was like, hey man, you gonna smoke this J with me today. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna feed you afterwards. And that was my first introduction. And at that time I was obviously like living in an area that currently does not believe in legalization of marijuana. So with that mindset, that completely changed the consistency of my consumption since the age
Mhm.
of 19.
Mhm.
Um, I had that first introduction, and after that, I didn't really get into it. It was another one of my female friends, my girlfriends, not to say female in that type of way, but I was introduced to cannabis through a woman.
Yes.
a young woman my age.
Mm.
And so that right there was significant to me because it seemed like the only ideals or association with cannabis that I had prior to that was male consumption
Mm.
and how it looked when they consumed
Right.
and the environments, the mindsets that are associated with it, you know, and that's a whole nother, I don't know how much time we have, but like that's just, to be honest with you, the fact that my cannabis consumption was inconsistent was due to my perception. Again, like this is why cannabis infused mindfulness is so important to me because changing the narrative, changing my perception of things, changing the ideals of my expectations and my judgments have been significant in my growth in this business as a consumer and as a future educator.
Yes.
Um, because it was seeing how men was using the plant at that time that deterred my interest in the plant. I was like, you gotta look like that. Your lips gotta be all dry, like the whole all your lips turning black. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
I'm a woman. I don't want to be involved in anything that's gonna make me look tired at the age of, you know what I'm saying, at that young
Mhm.
age. Anything that had an odor that wasn't, even if it wasn't necessarily pungent or put off by me, put off to other people.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You noticeable when you walk in a room, not because you look good, but because of the smell.
Right. Right.
So I moved away from that practice and consumption. I didn't start consuming again until I was about 23, 24. Um, and again, it was in intimate spaces.
Yes.
Uh, Cannabis consumption is intimate. That's why establishing what your intimate practice with cannabis is important.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and my cannabis use didn't become more significant until I moved back to this area. Um, it seemed like cannabis uh, reminded me who my family is.
Mm.
Um, and like the family that I can be transparent, pure with, like cannabis brought me to those people.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
and I would say to go into my story or like what was my catalyst for my focus of what this industry looks like for the consumer. Um, the person that I created the heaviest smoking sessions with, the most in-depth conversations with, and things like that, um, was a cousin of mine. And you know, we, on paper he's my cousin, but like in a familial sense, he's my brother. Um, he was the first person that I was able to learn a little bit, like learn from a man that consumes that knows a little bit more than just consumption.
Right.
Um, about strains, about he was the one that had me more mindful of your medical cannabis, like the cultivation of medical cannabis and the cultivation of cannabis at home, and what that may mean. He made me really think more about how to be conscious with cannabis consumption.
Yes.
Um, and then fast forward to April of last year, it was the scarcity mindset associated with cannabis that took that person away from me.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Um,
Wow.
and like that was a catalyst for me because my brother cousin, um, like the last time I saw him, was whenever he had introduced me to the strain, like the Nipsey Hussle strain.
Mm, okay.
He came over to introduce me to that. Um, and him and I talked about the cannabis business that we wanted to do together.
Mm,
Um, and I told him that day, it's like, I can't wait till recreational sales can start in the DC area, because at one time our mayor was saying, hey, we see the injustices associated with this, and they were considering allowing adult sales in DC.
mm,
And I was telling my cousin about that, and we were literally in the midst of, like, what we could. It was like a visualization meditation, which is a technique in mindfulness, right?
mhm,
You go into a space of agreement, and being open to that divine guidance and intelligence to show you what's in store for you.
mm.
And that night we can see, like, I can say that it was a whole sensory experience, obviously because we smoked some, but we both were aware, though, like, we were consciously consuming cannabis in a way to use it as a manifestation tool.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's what we were doing at that time. And we did that. And my cousin uh, was like my first family member that allowed me to walk him through meditation and do yoga.
Mm,
And he did yoga that night.
wow.
Um, and then not even a week later, he was uh, taken from this realm and this space.
Wow.
Uh, and it was highly related to, like I said, the current perspective and state of mind that our people have with cannabis.
Mm,
And they treat it like it's a scarce thing. They treat it as if it's something that can never be abundant. They treat it like, it can't be the true manifestation tool when you're operating from your higher self.
right.
Like, things can like, in my opinion and in my belief, when it comes to changing your perspective, m- changing your mindset, and then automatically operating in it, and
Right.
and being aware of your fears that are associated with not wanting to operate that way. Have your affirmations against that. You have your power inside of you that is greater
Hmm.
than that scarcity mindset.
Right. 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 Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing, part of your journey and sharing that story. That really, it resonates with me. And, you know, so often us as Black women wind up like trauma kind of bonding because the stories and the themes are similar. When you said that your first introduction to the plant was through another female, another woman. I agree because now I'm thinking back and I'm like, yes. And this is why I was able to trust to consume at the time. If it had been offered to me through a male, I would have not. Just like a cigarette, or I would have treated it just like a cigarette, like no, or a drink. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
that whole thing of don't drink something somebody handed to you.
Boom.
But because it was offered to me through another well, young girl my age, she was my friend, of course I trusted her, but then later on when I tried it again, an older woman, that I trusted, and she was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and so this is what she used to balance her out and things like that, so she let me try it. And even though I was a teen, I felt safe to do it, and it was introduced by another woman. So that definitely resonates with me, and I feel like there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
The reason this is why I now do what I do, and kind of it speaks to what you're saying when it comes to the male perspective, especially in our community when it comes to cannabis, and they have to get back to being teachers, okay, teachers of wellness as well. Like I've noticed a lot in what they would call a conscious community, that when it comes to the health aspects, it's always the women that kind of gravitate towards the wellness, and they expect us to stay in that lane with the scholarly work, like and while they go off to do all the history and the uh, blueprints and things like that. But it's like they don't include the wealth and wellness of the person, the being, us as a one body and one unit nation. So I think that that is where we kind of pick that up, and of course because we nurture and we're the ones that preparing the meals and things like that. But yeah, I see, that they kind of operate from a capitalist perspective when they're dealing with the plant, and they kind of need to get back to, it's not even kind of, they need to come back to what it truly is, like truly educate yourself about what it is you're consuming. Um, and starting, that's the ground floor, like starting with, we want to know what we're putting in our bodies, and then your perspective on how to share it with the world changes. Okay,
Yeah.
even how you can, how it'll return, there'll be a return on investment when you educate yourself about it, because you'll come from a whole different perspective than other cultures. But um also, when you spoke about your cousin just last year, and in 2020, was it 2020 or 2021? We're in 2022. Time is speeding by. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're in 2022. So 2021, it was an anniversary. So um, I lost my cousin uh, during 2020, and it was from a fentanyl overdose, but it was from opioids. And you know she she dealt with substance abuse, but because people don't know that cannabis can be an alternative to opioids and helping you to get through a recovery process, if when you consume it consciously. Yeah.
May I ask that you repeat that for the people that may have missed it?
Right, right, yes, that cannabis can be used as an alternative to help you through the recovery process from opioid substance abuse, and when consumed consciously. And you have people who can guide you. There's books, of course, that'll help you, but there are people like us who are here to want to help people in the community move into a healthier option, um, in recovery. And because my family kind of they dealt with substance abuse, and have dealt with Narcotics Anonymous and things like that, cannabis is one of those, what they would consider a drug, and it wasn't an option for her. And I just felt so, after that happened, she was only 41. So after that happened, to be so young and not be able to, because she did consume cannabis, but because she didn't know about how to consume it, and because there was really no support in that area, she wound up succumbing to um the opioid addiction. And unfortunately, it happened to be laced with fentanyl, and we lost her. And I that like you said, it just really truly hurts. But that piece about your cousin, and the fact that you were able to spend that time with him, and it was just like for some reason it feels like a preparation of the spirit to really.
Don't say that, because that was the one thing, like,
Yes.
I had immediately,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, immediately, I considered, because he
Mm-hmm.
knew what space. He was the one that made it easier for me to believe in how much the ancient African religion and ways were significant, and he helped me to find comfort in the path that I was taking at that time. I was able
Yeah.
to talk about these type of things with him, And so it was almost like um, immediately it was like I felt like I was a part of a preparation because of everything that we did in that night. Um,
Mhm.
we were in the midst of, how we have cannabis oils and tinctures. I know somebody like myself, when I later talk about cannabis infused wellness and mindfulness, I use cannabis oil on my skin, um, because I deal with dermatitis and just really dry skin sometimes. But I was like, wouldn't it be cool to combine um, topically uh, enriched cannabis oils that are also fragranced?
Yes, yes.
Um, and when you think about our ancestral way of anointing and blessing and creating that preparation for that transition, we dealt with fragrance oils.
Yes.
Uh, there was, a burn offering, their
Mhm.
prayer connection and movement and
Yes.
things like that. So um, when you said that, I was like,
Listen, because trust me, you know, I know after that unfolded, and I know that's exactly what had to go through your mind, like that process. And he came to you, because he knew, like you've been preparing yourself, you know, you've been preparing yourself for this type of work. So he knew, he found a safe space, and you provided that, and that that you should definitely be grateful for, because that's a gift that he gave you. um that's a gift that he gave you, and to know, because of African spirituality, that energy never dies, it only transcends and transforms. You just know, you know what I mean, that's the one thing. So you can celebrate his life, even in the unfortunate way that he is no longer with us in this realm, even for my own cousin. And and I definitely call on her name, and I pour out libations for her. And she still has a child here, and so we want to, and her mom, my aunt, and stuff. So we want to, honor her, and still, tap into them. And so, that was a beautiful story about how your journey came to be and unfolded. I'm quite sure it's more in depth, as all of ours are. And I'm glad that you were able to share it here, because this is a safe space for us to be able to communicate these things, amongst each other. And so, what I wanted to ask you is, well, you did kind of mention it a little bit, somewhat in your story, is how has cannabis prohibition affected you specifically? And just the mindset of, like you said, the community dealing with prohibition specifically, just, affected how, even you, like we said, what happened to your own cousin. Um, just that perspective of why we didn't see the plant as an option,
yeah,
um, when we were coming up for healing. When
yeah,
we were going through menstrual issues, I would take a Midol. Had I known the benefits of cannabis back then, maybe I would have been using a different alternative. But because
exactly.
associated with street corner, hanging out,
Mhm.
kicking it, like you said, the smell, the grunge look, the
Right.
stereotype, the stuff we seen on Menace to Society and Boys in
Right.
the Hood, all of that type of stuff was a push away.
And
Um,
I want to piggyback off of that because we also grind culture. I don't want to. I'm only giving my perspective here.
mhm,
I'm not putting blame, just
yeah,
just my perspective. But grind culture um, seems to be a result of the trauma associated with prohibition in cannabis,
mm,
because no one wants to look apparently locked to the couch or non-motivated in association with this plant. But that is not due to um, that's due to the projection that other people's fears um, have done to create this war on and this prohibition. It's not us.
No, no.
We are we aren't. So I'm not going to say what we are because their things are changing. But there are those that are still in a ruminating cycle because they haven't detached from somebody else's fear.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so our people need to be in healing spaces where there are more than just poses being done in a session or in a class, where there's not so many labels being put on that person. When those things are not in place and there's a safe space um, to cultivate, uh, plant seeds of abundance, plant
Mhm,
seeds of bliss and a life of thriving.
mhm,
Uh, that has nothing to do with surviving, but planting seeds of that and watering that with consistent flow
mhm.
um, of divine intelligence and wisdom and what divine love is, then something great can manifest in each of us individually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that we can heal from the projected fears of somebody else. We hadn't even had the chance to be more aware of what our individualized fears are
Mhm.
because we're dealing with
Mm.
uh like people would say a curse. No, it's the attachments.
Right, right,
Um and then the unaware, you're not aware of your attachments. You can see the manifestations of it, but you're not aware of like the root of that.
right.
Um, and it is that is keeping some of us in um, that survivalistic mindset, but there's thriving here now.
Right, right. And like the cannabis plant, like you said, the scarcity mindset of something that grows so abundantly, even when left alone, um,
Right.
and given the right environment, will
Mhm.
definitely flourish and do its thing. But I agree, one thing about the attachments is uh, it's very difficult for people to let that go when it's rooted in your subconscious. And so, because all you focus on is when we say consciousness, people think, it's some type of abstract thing, but when all your focus is on what is in front of you in your environment, and you don't take the time to go within
Yep.
and tap into what you want to see and what you want to plant. When we say plant seeds, we mean in plant our own seeds, and we have to pluck the roots of someone
Mhm.
else's consciousness. What it
Thank you.
is we're walking and embodying other people's consciousness,
Absolutely.
and we're afraid to go into our own. We're afraid to remember, that fear of remembering our own, because we were taught to erase all that we knew, all that we were, and all that we are. And
Mhm.
so just coming back to that, yeah, that's work. That's work on a lot of different levels, and a lot of peeling the layers
Yeah.
that has to happen for ourselves, individually, but collectively. Um, but it's not going to take everybody. Everyone at the same time isn't going to do it, and they're not prepared to. Um,
Mm.
but for us, I know what we want to see. In our lifetime, it would be lovely. It would be beautiful. But what I was saying to my dad earlier today is the work that I'm doing is for the children that I won't ever see.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and he said that, no, you will, because that they are you. So you're preparing
Absolutely.
for your future, for the stuff you will see in your future as a whole different being and experience. So, which I thought was
That's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah, yes, which I thought was beautiful. So, and this is what we're doing with cannabis. Cannabis prepares, we know that hemp can regenerative, and be regenerative and cleanse soil, uh, and prepared for, uh, great harvests and things like that of new seeds. So I
Right.
think that, you know, I feel like this was such a wonderful build. I'm so happy that you came on and we were able to share, uh, especially with prohibition. It just goes so much deeper than the war on drugs. The war on drugs, and just when they decided to make it, criminalize it, generally, but specifically, um, really destroy a group of people, a nation, a community, you know, and how it's still, even as they legalize it and even talk to federal legalization, how the effects permeate just um to the point, in our subconscious minds, like it's there. And so we don't even, a lot of us don't even want to hear about the cannabis industry as, um a way to build, regenerational wealth for ourselves, because they're like, no, no, they're so, like you said, we're living in fear and with someone else's consciousness attached to us. So um yeah. So is advocacy work important to you? Well, obviously.
Advocacy work is important to me, and my form of advocacy is something that is developing now. It's all the other um, ganja yoga teachers that are out there. It's everybody else. The shamans, like the plant shamans out there. It's that type of advocacy about our. Uh, it's like an all-encompassing well-being advocacy.
Okay.
Um, because it's body, um, it's mind and spirit. When it comes to teaching movement practices, breath work, um, concentration, meditation, and those things, along with plant medicine. We are speaking specifically about cannabis, but with all of the entheogens that are out there, it's
Yeah.
about, what I'm saying, creating safe spaces for healing, against um, the medical field, against the medical field in the pharmaceutical way, because there are reasons to believe that pharmaceuticals have something against, or like against plant medicine and what that's possibly doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would say from the mental health industry, creating additional spaces for, because there are a lot of people that can't currently see psychologists and psychiatrists and things like that because they aren't insured.
That's right.
Hello, that's my community. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
So our community, and that's the thing. Again, with a projected fear-based consciousness, the only other people that my people have been able to go to for something that they couldn't understand or deal with mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, the only other doctors, and I'm glad that some of them are recognized as doctors, are the people of the church.
That's right. Yeah.
But the people of the church have too many of their own ideals that support the prohibition of cannabis as
Right.
well.
Right.
So if you don't have the health well-being to see a licensed therapist or psychiatrist, psychologist, anybody in those fields of study to help you deal with the mental issues uh, that you that you perceive to have, and all those other things, and that you can't
Right.
go to those people. You can't even go to the only other doctors or people that can help you in those spaces, because the church was the people's doctors, medicine people, health wise. You can't go to those people either.
Right.
when
Right.
it comes to the power of plant medicine and
Hmm.
its effects on the mind, body, and spirit. Who's left
Right.
but the people that are advocating for this space? And this space is devoid of trying to, and that's what I mean by naming people's um, fear or her naming people's pains and things like that with all these other names that are out there as far as labels in the mental health industry. You got these people who are healers, other healers, healing themselves and dealing with things that are offering to help heal others' perspective and mindset that they can't heal themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
That's the advocacy I'm a part of.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And I mean, that's, listen, because we have advocacy, of course, for restorative justice and
Mhm.
social equity in the space, but restorative justice, that's a part of it. People think restorative justice is just give us some money and, let us go on about our way. But the restorative justice is the space for us to do the work of healing without having to go to, um, I would say those who initiated part of the problem. So
Right?
now I have to go to those who have helped to cause the problem to get resolved.
Mhm.
No. And then like you mentioned the church, and especially in cannabis, I feel like the church should be championing legalization and restorative justice. They should be the church was our first organizations. So this is where we should be able to get organized under, as far as they should be championing the education of the plant.
Yep, the education of
Okay. Especially for wellness. But for me, and I'm not judging anyone, but for me, cannabis is health. Okay.
yep,
Cannabis is wellness. And in churches, if you are not speaking to health and wellness, well, then the cannabis plant is not going to be a part of the conversation. If you're only speaking to what is in whatever doctrine that
doctrine.
you follow, okay, and barely really, if you really are looking in there, you would be speaking to health and wellness. But, that's a whole nother conversation. But the fact is, yeah, these are the ways. So if you're unable to go there to a professional, a medical professional, okay, because the trust is really broken, okay,
Mhm.
and then you're unable to go to the church because the trust is really broken. I mean, often if you look in where the churches are and you look in the surrounding community, the church may look great, but the community surrounded it is horrible. So I'm wondering, what's happening here? Where's the work being done? So if you're not able to go there, and then this is where, like you said, people like us come and we're accessible in our communities, but we need support.
Yep,
Obviously, we're accessible in these communities where we want to help. We want to connect the people to the things that promote wellness and upliftment, and like you said, spirituality and your own journey and things like that. Um, but it is going to take some support, and it's
right.
spaces like this where women are okay and feel comfortable to come out, come on, speak to their journey, how it was able to transform their life, and what it is you do. So I want to make sure we get in what it is, what your business is, what you do, and how people can reach out to you and contact you.
All right. I am a mindfulness coach.
Right.
Um, and so coaching sessions are really important to me. It's almost like having this same energy that you and I have, but in a session that is focused on what your deepest desires are, what you believe are the obstacles and limits that are before you, where that may manifest energetically in your body, and then providing you with all the tools and resources you need so that that can manifest for you. And that's just within the one-on-one coaching sessions. Outside of that, the material that we work on throughout those sessions can then be used in the meditation and movement practices. So I also offer infused Yin Yoga. Yin Yoga is the quiet meditative practice that I would say anybody can do, everybody should do, but it's stillness. Many of the poses are seated poses, and so they are held at minimums length and sometimes 3 minutes long. People aren't used to holding yoga poses that long.
Mm.
But the benefit of having that is the focus of breath in the pose. You're not meeting something that you're stretching the muscles to do, but it's the opening of the fascia and the plastic parts of you. It's a practice that I benefited from because I lived that grind culture, yang active lifestyle. The way of balance for me was finding more moments of meditation, more moments of not trying to, go into um, these poses where it's putting a lot of more work on my body. I want to be in poses where I can only do the work in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus is more opening space in my mind and allowing that space to expand in joint areas and stuff that doesn't get that movement.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so I offer those yin yoga classes where we're not focused on a lot of poses. The poses are held long, and at that time, we are using affirmations that my client and I in the coaching sessions establish that are more powerful against the mind that may ruminate and turn on itself about what those blockages were to negate the manifestation that my client is working on.
Yes.
So, for instance, I had a client that was her deepest desire um, was really just along with love, like her association with love, and maybe the love that she really desired didn't look a certain type of way, and I don't mean just in a physical sense of the person, but the experience. Um, and so we talked about that in a session and in the infused yoga because we light up, we drink the tea, we
Right.
put on the candles oils.
Right.
And the affirmation that I told her was I affirm that love comes to me beautifully and with ease, and my experience of love is bliss. And that is being said in her meditative practice.
Mm.
That is that's what she agrees on from the coaching sessions to be a seed that's planted while she moves through meditative practice, while she uses that as a guided meditation. And then aside from the coaching sessions that I have with my clients, infuse Yin Yoga, which is a more complementary um, long-term practice because your goals, your deepest desires, there are so many of them. And so
That's
maybe we're working specifically on one of your deepest desires. But while you have infused that into your mindset that you deserve it, you're worthy of it, it is already yours. That we are now just working on those obstacles, that mindset, that lower self that likes to talk louder than you.
right.
We're working to speak to that and cast that out in a different way in the yin yoga sessions. Well, outside of that, I offer a cannabis consultation and education, whereas it's really about, lady, you mean to tell me that you are at 50 something percent THC, but you didn't know that you can even handle 19? Let's
Right.
talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about you eating the whole edible, but you don't know the milligrams that is in that, and you're wondering why you don't want to do edibles. So maybe,
Right.
yeah, let's talk about what your cannabis experience is going to be for you.
Right. Right. So some
What,
educating.
what is the style? This is my rolling tray. My rolling tray is not, my rolling tray is something that reminds me, has, my stones, the color and things like
Yes.
that remind me of of where I want to be during my sessions because it's
Yes,
associated with what I want to manifest in life.
that's
Love,
right.
bliss, and beauty. You know what I'm saying? So let's create a cannabis infused practice that you see every day. You know, what is it that's in your home that epitomizes the goddess within you that
Yes,
still
yes.
allows you
Beautiful.
to talk or
Beautiful.
two or three or flow?
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that piece. I love a good glass piece, I have to say. You know. And I love the tray. I have one myself, but I'm, crafty and creative, so I'm working on creating my own too. So it can be exactly what it is I want. But
Right.
listen, I love what you do at and what is the name of your business?
Indica Wellness.
Right.
And you know, indica, some people are like, oh, do you smoke mainly indicas? I certainly do. But not just in the cannabis category of indica, um, in the couch, but more into your soul and who you are. And to some that may know the terminology Ka or Ka, um, is your inner divinity.
Hmm.
Um, it's what you are connected to. I definitely believe that we are individualized expressions of the
Yes.
supreme universal consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's why in certain roots of spirituality, people may see things as like, oh, there's a bunch of gods and goddesses, and oh, that's too much. That's what is it, poly? You know, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, I
it's like,
get that.
no,
I hear that often, but that's just a that, misinterpretation.
it's a misinterpretation. We are talking about the various infinite individualized expressions of the
Yeah,
universal consciousness.
right.
Look at how many mushroom species are out there. Those
Thank you.
are individual. You know what I'm saying? So yes, there are going to be so many different personas because there are so many personas that have to experience life as attuned to the universal consciousness.
That's it.
Um, and formulating your practice so that you can get there and experience the gifts and abundance of that in this lifetime.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, you might want to get in the cup.
That's
You
right.
might want to combine wellness.
That's
Um, and you might want to add mindfulness into it because we are divine beings having a human experience. And
mhm.
there are moments of humility and acceptance and objectivity that we need to have in order to continue to be here to thrive in the
Yeah,
first place.
yes, yes, beautifully said. Beautifully said. I only have a few more questions, probably just two more, and then
Okay.
we will give everyone on the platform your contact info, how they can reach you, and of course, I will put it in the description and in the comments. So I want to ask, what are your thoughts on federal legalization?
Um, I believe that it is time for it to be done so that we can come out of hiding. There are so many of us that yes, there are cannabis businesses out there, but on a larger scale of education and communication, this needs to be done on a federal scale so that we can see more education in the libraries. Like, are there cannabis books allowed in the library? Probably not, because it's not federal. Like most libraries are federal, and you know what I'm saying. You have to think about what's on the premises. So
Right.
I would say federalization needs to happen because it's in the way of the higher consciousness that's associated and achievable with
Yes.
cannabis.
Yes.
Um, that's why I feel like it needs to be done. That's why I'm for it. When I apply mindfulness to the process of it, I accept that we are all experiencing the best that we can like today in this moment. So I
Mm,
accept that that is not the end all be all, but
right.
I accept that in the moment so that I can continue to be high vibrational.
Right.
Um, humility is that there are some parts of the federalization of cannabis that I don't understand. So being humble in the aspect of not that I know my place, but I know that there's space for more education in order
That's
to
right.
then be a part of that. But I have to show humility in knowing where I am in my understanding and what I am capable of doing to support this federal movement. Um, and objectivity.
Mm-hmm.
It, it's non it's like non-duality is how I look at objectivity. It's not right or wrong. I feel like there's been a lot of blame as well, in association with cannabis itself. Blaming cannabis for other people's fear, blaming people's fear and their manifestations of it on cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Who was right or wrong with who's holding who back. We can say all those things, but the neutral aspect of that and objectivity is like I don't even have to be attached to either one of those things. I can make my own decision, and if as long as I'm making that from a higher space within me, it's going to be a powerful decision. It's going to be impactful.
That's right.
So
That's right. Yes, yes, I agree. I agree, that federal legalization um, does need to happen, and it is happening. I see it happening. But I also feel like we have to become more aware of what policies are being created when it comes to legalization. We have to see how that affects us, collectively as, a nation, collectively as, in each state and individually, how it's going to affect us. And make sure that we, they say closed mouths don't get fed. So, this is why we're out here speaking up.
yeah.
And I was going to ask you what kind of impact did you want to have in the industry, but I think you covered that throughout the conversation. And the final thing would be, well, there'll be one bonus, but the final thing would be, what message do you have for other Black women who consume cannabis and would like to get involved in the work, become a part of the industry or bring their gifts and talents to the space? What message or, advice do you have for them?
I My message is definitely that in order to fully reclaim your time with your divine feminine goddess energy, you must connect with the plant that is the epitome of feminine energy. It is the feminine part of the plant that we consume, and think of it as if you want to be consumed with this love, this unconditional love. If you want to be consumed with this impeccable sense of safety and acceptance, and all of these things that you desire outside of you, that you've been chasing outside of you, realizing that it's within you. You have to go get it inside of you, and potentially the safe space that you can create is when you combine the nurturing aspect of this feminized plant with your divine feminine energy as a healing space.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about trauma bonding, you know what I'm saying? And nothing makes a Black woman feel safer than another woman who knows her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is willing to take a journey with you to see who you are,
That's right. That's right.
um, with this plant that is evidence based, that acts on the psychoactive properties of the mind. I can say psychophysical, you know what I'm saying, mind and body aspects. When you get with somebody that's just as educated about having that experience, um, you can change so much about what you're attracting in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, that's my message, is that can definitely happen. No, it is not the only way that it may happen for you, but God is, if I'm sharing a way with you that is just as simple as knowing what consumption is best for you. So maybe it's not an inhalant, maybe it's not a topical, it is an edible, but not one that has to make you uncomfortable. Um, if I can tell you that you, with some times and some sessions and just self study and self realization with yourself, that you can meet those things, would you want to meet those things?
Mm.
Um, And when you formulate the practice and the comfort level and the education, like once you get a piece of that, everything else is going to come to you. Why? Because now you've opened yourself, you've removed those blockages, and you've opened yourself to the divine intelligence that's associated with it. You've opened yourself to the abundance that's around you. You don't believe in that scarcity mindset. So ideals, experiences, creative spaces, all those things come to you naturally
Yeah.
in that space.
Yeah.
And you can grow any type of business from that, just from your experience. Because what you're really doing and how you find your tribe is identifying your ideal client. Your ideal client is you, because
Thank
you've figured out your pain points, and then you've done the work to figure out those solutions. So all you're doing when it comes to thriving as an entrepreneur, cannabis entrepreneur, mindfulness teacher, educator, entrepreneur, because there are educator sectors out there. So those of you who are out there who are educators and you are having a hard time in this industry, in the current industry where you educate, you can take that teaching experience, and if you're a cannabis consumer, you can take that teaching experience and come up with full-on lectures and things like that that can be taught in the institution of cannabis that our people can have.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
How
you.
many institutions are out there that are built specifically for things that resonate most with us,
Right.
that we can thrive from?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I see it. I see it. I mean, that's the vision. That's the, listen, that's the vision. You know, that was the call to create the platform so we could create a network of women who uh, consume, who practice, who bring wellness and bring their skill set and talent to the industry and provide what we need. We meet our needs.
Right.
This
And
is our time.
the men will come. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
I think a lot of times, like we as women look for so much validation from a partner because of like our attachments to what we believe love is, rather than what it is most, what it truly is for yourself. But we don't need a man's validation on how we should do things in the cannabis industry for us. And honestly, once they themselves step away from the egotistical, masculine energy, and connect with their own divine masculine energy, um, the changes and their contributions to the movement will be even greater.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Right. You know, we provide the path, and I feel like and they carry it out, you know. So I listen, we are called to do it. If you are called to cannabis, if you are consuming and you are
Is there
ready,
one?
you're ready to take it to the next level, yes, please. Come on here, share your story, especially if you consume for any type of body breakdown and you have found resolve. We are self medicating and we are transforming our health with the plant. And so I want to be a space where people can share that information. And so the bonus question is, what's your favorite or preferred delivery method?
Um, my absolute favorite delivery method would be with my vaporizer.
Okay.
I use a dry herb vaporizer, um,
Hmm.
and that's because, again, I want to be in control of what I put in my body. And so, if it's a dry herb vaporizer, I could be susceptible to many other things that can be harmful for my
Yeah.
lungs. And so I use my vaporizer because I can choose the temperature that is best for um, inhalation for me. I feel like it's a great tool to use where I can still consume cannabis. Um, but during these times where your respiratory health is at the forefront of your mind,
Mhm.
um, I see it very beneficial to use my vaporizer because it's I am not putting so much harsh additional smoking toxins into my body. There are, some studies and some people that are looking at the the butane, like whenever we're using our lighters to our smoke, it has to do with the paper that you're using around your flower as well.
Mhm.
And then just the amount of smoke on your lungs as well. There are some people out there that have not considered that we can mindfully take hits.
No,
You don't
that's
have
for
to choke
sure.
on every single thing that's out there. That, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I love my vaporizer because you don't even see the smoke a lot of the times, nor do I feel it. Um, the rasp that I currently have, the
Mhm.
sulfur sound that you guys are hearing, that's not due to my smoke inhalation. That's just my natural substance.
Right. This is my raspy voice. It has nothing to do with how much I consume. Okay.
No.
So yeah. I love a dry herb vaporizer.
Mhm.
I put, I have one that does the bag, and blooms it up. And so I just love it because also I get to taste all of the different terpenes at
Don't you
different
get to
temps.
taste it?
Yes, it's just beyond that. I think that's what really um was a catalyst in my like wanting to know more about the plant and the science of it. And already loved essential oils and aromatherapy and all of those type of wellness practices as well, because me being a cosmetologist and esthetician, natural hair care, I was moving into that, but I was consuming cannabis not really knowing what it was doing, but knowing it was doing good for me. It just didn't seem as harmful as anything else. So I guess I was just becoming more and more aware. And then just once things aligned, it just clicked and
Yeah.
locked in, So I guess my endocannabinoid kind of, opened up at that point.
Yes,
But,
you open up that space,
right,
and
right.
that's what I mean. We as women need to learn more about how we can have a cannabis infused lifestyle that is a projection of the goddess within us.
Yes.
Like I want each of us, like my clients, I want each of us to start living life as a vision board, not just what you cut and copy and paste, because those are
Yeah.
still aspects of what that person wanted. You can have a different type of process. You can start putting things in front of you now that are reflective to your higher self and how you are enjoying love, bliss, and beauty in your life.
Hmm.
Um, and it takes, moving away from the consumption of maybe you and your partner has. Like a lot of women are learning from their brothers and cousins. Like I smoke
Hmm.
with my dad and all of his brothers, and I have brought strains back to them. Like, hey, I got the Acapulco Gold. Hey, that Panama Red. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's I'm smoking with them, but when I smoke with them, I feel pressured because it's like, oh, I got to roll the best joints for them.
How
Then
they gonna talk, right?
then I got to have a heavy lungs. They don't want to hear me cough. You know what I'm saying? And when I smoke with them, we're always watching a Parliament Funkadelic concert. But when I'm not with them, what's my smoke practice?
Right.
What does that look? How does it smell? What am I feeling? What
Yes.
am I wearing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What colors are, being synthesized in that space? So it's
Yeah.
important to have that. I want to teach all the goddesses out there how to do that. You can check me out at www.indi-ka-wellness.com. That information will be below. You can follow me on Instagram at INDI_KA.wellness on Instagram. And I have a podcast. It's called Mindfulness is Calling,
Yeah.
Cannabis Infused Monologues. And in that space, it's just kind of like an extension. I'm not much of a heavy social media person. Um, it takes like a lot of writing and other artistic concepts to be able to fulfill that. And so I've accepted that my Instagram page is my business card. I need you guys to accept that. When you want to hear more about my ideals and my teachings, book a session with me. Check out my website,
That's
connect with my podcast, because you'll get more gems there than you ever will on my Instagram page. That is just my digital business card.
Yes, yes, I agree. I mean, it does take a lot of energy to keep up with all the social medias and create content, and as well as to be fully attentive to your business and your life outside of business. What I said yesterday was, to someone when I was in a talk, that my lifestyle is, really what my business is. It's hard
Yep.
to separate the two. This is what, I practice, and now, I'm sharing it in hopes of helping others
Right.
come through what they have and be able to live an authentic experience here. So thank you again. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I love it.
Mhm.
This was such a beautiful build. You look beautiful. Please, everyone, connect with her. You have two cannabis wellness coaches on different spectrums. Cannabis and movement and mindfulness is exactly what she practices and all of us need. So I will be hitting you up for a session, because I have not done the ganja yoga thing, but I keep saying I want to.
Right.
And also, once my club has launched, I want to bring it to other women. So I will, if as long as I'm hoping that you do online sessions and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All
Okay.
sessions, I haven't said that, I'm sorry. All sessions are virtual.
Okay.
I won't have any in-person sessions unless it's associated with a pop-up event in DC, as I connect with the other dispensaries. Because this year, my desire definitely is to be a liaison as a medical cannabis consultant, or bud tender. I feel like I don't have to work in your dispensary specifically to sell the flowers that you have, but
Yeah.
I can enhance people's need for certain flowers by offering this work. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
only every sessions is virtual, but I will say, and I want to announce that here with some time, is I have communicated with Coral Cove Wellness and Resort in Jamaica. They
Ooh.
are a cannabis resort and sanctuary cultivation center. They have a dispensary in Jamaica. I have already locked in my dates for my 2023 cannabis infused mindfulness retreat, 5 days, 4 nights, and everything that you may miss. You know what I'm saying? If you don't book anything with me this year, you will have all of those things, all of my ideals, print out of my resources. There is a dispensary on site, ocean view room, cannabis infused meals that are all inclusive at this resort in Jamaica. And so you guys get to my website, and so that you can be a part of this. I am only holding space for 12 goddesses. So 12
Oh,
spaces.
okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know,
Listen, you can't miss out on that.
yeah. Yeah, so that information is on my website as well. So if you guys get to my website. You can subscribe there so that you can be a part of this cannabis infused mindfulness retreat at Coral Cove in Jamaica,
Ooh.
2023.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes. I'm so happy you announced that on here because yes, a
Yeah.
retreat is needed. And that's a lot. That's big. That's big because that's a part of what a lot of us want to be able to do. So this is what you can do in this space,
Yeah.
when you get involved and you can bring your own unique gifts out and share it with everyone. I definitely will be jumping on your website so I can be in tune to when
Yeah.
this is going to be available to get involved. And if anyone wants to contact her, I will make sure that your information is in the description and in the comments. And if you or anyone you know is dealing with any type of body breakdown and needs assistance in bringing your body back into balance with herbal formulations, nutrition, and cannabis, of course, you can reach out to me at afrocanaholistic.com, schedule a consult, and I will help you on your journey back to wellness. Again, thank you so much, Taye Maat. It was beautiful. And I
Thank
will be signing on to Indi-Ka Wellness so I can hear about this retreat and letting all my friends know, okay?
Yes, yes, yes. Come,
Indica.
come. 12 spaces. So let's build it.
Yes, plus I will be hitting you up for a session and then we'll discuss, we'll build and connect. And there's so many things that can, come up out of this. So, and I loved it. Listen to her podcast because I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. You definitely have the voice for meditation. Like I definitely loved it. So, but
Thank
again,
you.
thank you for watching Black Women Who Blaze. And if you are a Black woman who consumes cannabis and you have a story to tell and you want to share it, please comment below and I will reach out. Until next time, thank you.